From the Land Grant University in Urbana-Champaign, Illinois, this is the Closing Market Report. It is the 4th day of September 2025. I'm Extension's Todd Gleason. Coming up, we'll talk about the commodity markets with Matt Bennett of agmarket.net. He's in Windsor, Illinois. We'll return to last week's Farm Progress Show and hear an excerpt from a panel discussion I had with the ACES leadership, actually the entire University of Illinois leadership, or much of it, as it relates to the College of ACES, that is. And then we'll turn our attention to the weather forecast, too. We'll do that with Mike Tannura at T-Storm Weather on this Thursday edition of the Closing Market Report from Illinois Public Media.
Todd Gleason services are made available to WILL by University of Illinois Extension.
December corn for the day settled at $4.19 3/4, up a penny and 3/4. The March at $4.37 a penny and a half higher, and May futures at $4.47 up 1.5 cents. November beans $10.33, a penny and a half higher. January at $10.51.5, also up a penny and a half for the day, and the March contract at $10.67, a penny and a quarter higher. Bean meal futures up $2.50. The bean oil 7 cents higher. Wheat futures in the soft red December at $5.19.5, down 2.5 cents. The hard red in the December at $5.06 1/4, finished 4 cents lower on the afternoon. Live cattle futures in Chicago at $236.95, $1.37.5 lower. Feeders off $2.55, and lean hogs up $1.20. Matt Bennett from agmarket.net now joins us to take a look at the marketplace. Hi, Matt. Thanks much for being with us. Interesting day in the markets, down for most of the day, not by much, but it appears as we go into the settlements, while you and I are talking, that everything might settle a little higher. That seems like a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. You look, for instance, at the bean market, and no beans haven't settled yet, but looking like we're about 12 cents off the low, as we move into a settlement type price. Whereas corn, you're looking about 6 cents off the low. So no doubt there was a fair amount of pressure there. Overnight wasn't too bad, but then as we open the day session, no question that pressure was definitely evident. And you come in here as the day goes on, corn just kind of worked its way higher, and then the bean market joined the party right at the very end. So, both of them look like they're going to settle a little higher on the day, which is a really good sign. I think there's a lot of different things going on. Demand's really strong. On the other side of that, of course, trade, there's a lot of questions there people are frustrated with, but ultimately the weather has got to factor in somewhat. It's just not been a great finish for a lot of us.
Yeah, so we talked to Drew Lerner earlier in the week, and he still was of a mind, at least yesterday when I talked to him, that freeze frosts could be a problem, I think particularly on Sunday night in parts of the northwestern Corn Belt. We'll have to see whether that Arctic air spills down that far and gets things cool enough. That could pop the market, I suppose, on Monday. But really what we have to think about now is what USDA will come out with next week. And those numbers will be as of September 1st. They'll include some objective yields, another farmer survey too. What do you think they'll show?
It's a tough guess, to be honest, Todd. Last year, you look back at last year, and clearly you had a Western Corn Belt dry finish type situation, and what that did was clearly rob some bushels. We already knew that they were dry out west, but the USDA actually went up for September yield after getting out in the field, and so clearly the Eastern Corn Belt being super dry in August this year doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go down substantially. Now, clearly, you've got a totally different viewpoint from USDA in August and Pro Farmer in August, for instance. They're going to get in the field this month. My personal opinion is if you take into account all the disease issues that we've got, and then obviously the drier biased finish, you would think that the yields would come down some. Do the USDA, do they want to take big chunks out of this? Typically, that's not their protocol. That's not really how they handle things in the past, but I guess from my vantage point, you've got to think this is going to come down at least a bushel or two on corn. I don't see anything a whole lot more than that. And then on soybeans, you'd think that would ease a little bit, maybe a bushel, maybe a little bit less, but regardless, I've got to think both these come in a little bit lower.
During last week's Commodity Week conversation at the Farm Progress Show, and thank you for being there, Arlen Suderman mentioned that he was a little concerned that the feed and residual number did not, and the export number both, did not balance out right because USDA didn't account for beef cattle not coming across the border from Mexico because of the screwworm issues, and increased demand going that way, but didn't take it off going domestically. Are you concerned at all that those feed and residual numbers are too high?
I think feed and residual could certainly be too high. It would tell you that if these cattle don't come north out of Mexico, that actually exports could continue to be very strong. It's just that feed and residual is probably farther off than what exports might be low. Now, there's no doubt that here over the last week or two, you've seen more competitiveness out of South America, but U.S. corn still has been flying off the shelves, so to speak. So I think those exports are going to be good. It's just problematic to assume that we're going to have as much feed usage, as what they've projected if we're not getting those, 30,000 head of cattle moving north every week. And so, bottom line, you could probably take some air out of the sails, Todd. I mean, I've said this for a while now. Yes, the yield might come down, but you've got to assume they're going to drop demand as well. So it's not going to be one of these deals where you take yield down 2 bushel, and that's going to be what, 180 million bushel drop to carry out. That's not going to be the case. They'll drop some demand as well. It would be my personal opinion.
On biofuels, and I know this has a relationship to the SREs and how they're reallocated, if they're reallocated, the small refinery exemptions, but do you suppose that soybeans will continue to be supported and maybe push higher over time into 26 because of biodiesel and renewable diesel? They're all sort of tied in together into the RFS and the SREs, and it's hard to separate them out from 45Z, just a lot of jargon, but we know that capacity hasn't been built out yet. Will it push the market?
It's a tough call. I mean, here's the thing with beans, Todd. I mean, domestically, we have a very tight situation. I don't think that the balance sheet's going to get any looser, so to speak. I mean, yeah, you could lose a few exports, no doubt about it. But we know that crush is going to remain strong. Crush margins have been good. There's going to be a build out over the course of the next 2 or 3 years. It's not going to happen right away. The problem, of course, isn't necessarily a domestic situation. It's more the world situation. So in the world, we're actually producing more beans than what we're using. And so clearly it's kind of ballooning your world balance sheet somewhat. So I'd say it's very complicated. We might get in a situation where domestically we're using enough to keep our prices fairly strong and keep basis levels strong if there's meat on the bone, so to speak, and money to be made with crush margins. But the overall trajectory of the bean market might not look that great if we continue to see Brazil come with more acres every year. So I'd say that you can't just balance a bullish enthusiasm, on what's going on with, with renewable diesel. And I hate to say it that way. I'm just afraid that you're going to have a little bit of cold water on the fire, so to speak, when you're looking at world numbers.
Okay, thank you much. I appreciate it, Matt.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Matt Bennett is with agmarket.net. On the first day of the Farm Progress Show last week, the leadership of the College of ACES, Agricultural, Consumer, and Environmental Sciences, joined me on stage, including the Dean of the College, Herman Bolero, the brand new Director of Extension, his name is Matthew Van, along with the new Chancellor at the University of Illinois, Charles Isbell, and Nikki Budzinski, a member of the House Agriculture Committee in Washington, D.C., and her district includes the University of Illinois. I pulled an excerpt of that conversation. We'll start with the new Director of Extension. His name again is Matthew Van.
When we look at our urban and our rural areas, there's a lot of diversity and expertise, and I think that is going to be our biggest strength when we look outward and trying to find ways to solve the grand challenges of our day. But it's going to come down to the people and really understanding what our people need, and I'm really humbled to have an opportunity to be a part of those conversations.
Okay, so I'm going to turn our attention to Nikki Budzinski, because one of the ways that this works is you help to fund what happens in Extension and on campus, and it's a tough job. It's a tough job in any era. Can you tell me about the things you've been working through?
Yeah, Yeah, well, I'm really proud to serve on the House Agriculture Committee. This is my third year in Congress. Each of those years I've served on the committee. We've continued to be working toward getting a farm bill done. And the farm bill is a really important part of supporting the College of Aces, the University of Illinois, and agriculture more broadly. Specifically, we have an opportunity to invest in agricultural research. I mean, what you're seeing in the tent today, from AI farms to what FFA is doing, what 4-H is doing, all of this great work that's happening within the College of Aces, it is really important that we fund agricultural research to make sure that these programs are fully funded at our universities, and specifically the University of Illinois, which I'm really proud to represent. Agricultural research, I have a bill out there that would actually increase agricultural research investment by 10% over each year over the next 10 years. I think that is something, if we're going to be competitive with China, if we're going to be competitive with Brazil, we have to continue to invest and plus up that investment to make sure we're investing in the University of Illinois.
And then, of course, there's the One Big Beautiful Bill Act and the Skinny Farm Bill, which is coming up, which will deal with many things. How do you balance all of those out to create a research portfolio that really works?
Yeah, well, research really wasn't addressed in the big bill that passed. It broke apart what we refer to as the Farm Bill Coalition. Typically, a farm bill is negotiated to include our nutrition provisions, agricultural research, crop insurance, the farm safety net. All of that is bundled together into one negotiation process that gets a 5-year farm bill done. What happened with the big bill is that ended up being broken apart. So there are things in reference prices that were adjusted in the big bill. There were some other components that I think some of our farmers did welcome, but it didn't address everything that we need to address in the farm bill. That's what you're referring to as the skinny farm bill. The skinny farm bill is what was left on the floor that didn't get addressed in the big bill and needs to in a farm bill. So agricultural research is one of those projects or one of those initiatives that I'm hoping we'll see get in there.
Well, thank you for serving on the House Ag Committee. We really appreciate that. Dean Ramon Bolero is next to Representative Budzinski. Thank you, Dean. So you've traveled for a little bit with everybody today. I want to hear what your vision is of the College of Aces going forward and how these three work through that process to help you make it happen.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to say I'm also from the South. So
you do have a Southern accent.
I do have a deep Southern accent, but anyway. But first of all, I want to thank Chancellor Isbell and Nikki and Matthew for being here. Definitely the support that Nikki has provided in terms of research has been wonderful to that. I think part of going back to her points, I think it's important that here at Illinois we are stewards of those funds that come for research, so we can account for a lot of the things that we do. Part of that is, in terms of the vision, is what you see right there in terms of AI farms and the Center for Digital Agriculture. So the integration of technology to serve people in Illinois at all levels. Taking advantage of being in one of the best computer science departments in the country in Illinois and integrated with everything that we do in agriculture is really important. And then it's not only the research, we're integrating with the degrees that we're offering in terms of computer science plus crop sciences degree, computer sciences plus animal sciences degree. You see pics of different colors there. That's part of AI Farm. And I think it's integrating food agriculture into a state and creating the workforce to stay in the state, attracting the industry that will come to the state because of all these technological advances that we provide. So I think in terms of attracting students, we got a record number of students this week in the college. We're going to be a college of over 3,000 undergrads, and we continue to attract the best and brightest that never thought of careers in agriculture to come to agriculture because it's a great domain that have great opportunities, a great industry, a great job for the state of Illinois.
Wait a second. 3,000 undergrads in the college?
3,000 undergrads, yeah.
Wow, man, the last time I heard a number, it was 1,100 lower than that. It was a few, but that was
not more than 5 or 6 years ago.
No, we got a tremendous team and great departments in the college and great careers. So we continue to attract students.
I'll give the dean and his recruitment efforts just a big, huge hand. Thank you much. Okay, so we're going to wrap up with a vision from your side and how you see all this working. Again, Matthew Van, the new director of Extension here at the University of Illinois. Your vision going forward?
So what we want to do ultimately is find a way to embed Extension in every conversation that takes place across the university, across the college, and most importantly, outside of Champaign-Urbana. I think we've got a great resource when you look at all of our county directors and you look at our Extension educators. We want to have a foot in all the things that the dean and the chancellor are going to talk about to know that Extension's got a face, it's got a footprint, and it's going to be everywhere that we have citizens and we have stakeholders. So the vision is just to be present. We're going to show up, again, listen, learn, engage, and that's going to be really the focus of what we're going to do for the next few months, and then springboard into some bigger things as we start to get a little bit further into this.
Listen, learn, engage. I'll write that down so I remember that. Charles Isbell, Chancellor of the University, a final word from you as it relates to vision, please.
It's very simple. It's everything that you've just heard today. 3,000 students. We will probably have 60,000 students for the first time ever in the history of U of I. And why is that? Because we want to reach more people. We want to bring them along. I have fallen in love with Extension over the last couple of years. I've fallen in love with the mission, the idea that we can touch the world at scale. That's what we're about. Listening, engaging, touching, making the world a better place at scale. And it's because of things like this that make that happen.
Give them all a nice round of applause. Thank you very much to each of you. Have a great day here at the Farm Progress Show.
Thank you, Todd.
You're listening to the Closing Market Report on this Thursday afternoon. I'm University of Illinois Extension's Todd Gleason. Don't forget, we'll record our Commodity Week program today, posted to our website this evening by about 6 o'clock. Many of these radio stations will carry it over the weekend, and you can hear the whole of the program during this hour tomorrow on our home station. Our guests this week include John Zanker from Risk Management Commodities, Logan Kimmel of Roche Ag, and Mike Zuzla, GlobalComResearch.com. The Closing Market Report is a production of Illinois Public Media. It's public radio for the farming world, online on demand at WILLAG.org. Let's check in on the global growing regions and the climate in each of them. Mike Tannura is now here from T-Storm Weather. He's a meteorologist and an agricultural economist. Hey, Mike, thanks much for being with us. Also the CEO and president of T-Storm Weather. That's tstorm.net online. We appreciate you taking some time with me. I'm going to get started. We have a lot to cover, I think, in both North and South America, but begin in North America for me. Tell me about current conditions.
Well, it's pretty dry. We just went through one of the drier Augusts on record in the 7-state Corn Belt. It was the driest since 2020 and around a half of an inch wetter than in 2013. So that's kind of your background for where we are today. As we move forward, there's very little rain in the forecast. We did see some showers yesterday. We'll see some more today and tomorrow. But these are all very light and not the kind of events that lead to major soil moisture improvements. So we're basically going to stay pretty dry right into the middle of the month. Temperatures today are very cool, and they're going to stay very cool through Sunday. We did see a tiny bit of frost in far northern areas this morning, but temperatures only dipped to around 34 to 36 degrees in very small parts of North Dakota, and that's above the minimum threshold of a killing event. So the growing season is still underway. It'll be a little bit warmer there tomorrow morning and on Saturday morning, but the one risk we still have to get through is Sunday morning. Sunday will be a little bit different than it has been in that the same air mass will be in place, but winds will be a lot lighter. And light winds with a cool air mass is the recipe for cold temperatures. Now, is it going to get super cold and produce a killing event? Probably not. We think minimum temperatures will generally stay right around 33 degrees or warmer, and you need to get down to 28 degrees to have a killing freeze. That's kind of your measuring stick for a major problem. Is that going to happen? That's very unlikely. The air mass just isn't quite that cold. Ground temperatures are still pretty warm, and it just historically is outside of the realm of normal weather to see that type of temperature deep into the Corn Belt at this time of the year. So we think we'll get through that. And once we do get beyond Sunday, it'll be way warmer. A major warm-up is going to take place next week and we'll see high temperatures back into the 70s and 80s starting in about 5 days, and that should then continue right into mid-September.
And that's across the whole of the Corn Belt?
It certainly will be, but it'll be warmest to the west of the Mississippi River. And as you move to the east, it'll still be nice out, but it might not be in the mid 80s. It might just be, say, 75 to 80 degrees in parts of Indiana and Ohio.
Now turn your attention to South America. Start in Argentina for me. They are beginning their growing season. Tell me about it.
Well, it's been an interesting setup because they had a major rain event 2 weeks ago, and then they had another major rain event just a few days ago, and that has the whole country saturated. They just had a lot of rain for the month of August. They only normally would receive around 1.5 inches for the entire month, but some areas have seen more than 6 inches, and this is not just one or two locations. This is over a pretty big chunk of real estate, so conditions are fully saturated in Argentina. Now, the only crop that is going to be turning sensitive anytime soon is wheat. That crop starts to turn sensitive now and really more so in October. And again, it's just very wet. So whether or not that is a good or bad thing remains to be seen. They don't really start planting corn and soybeans until October and November, so plenty of time to dry out. Sunflower planting is taking place now. That'll probably be a little bit sluggish for a while. But overall, not a real clear story, except just to note that this unusual weather event has happened with these two big rains over the last couple of weeks. So we'll see if that's a sign of bigger things to come. But as we move forward, there's very little rain in the forecast for them. So they'll start to dry out through mid-month.
As you mentioned, still very late winter, very early spring in Argentina. However, in parts of Brazil, a lot of Brazil, in fact, much closer to the equator, they have the go-ahead to start planting soybeans, but they'll need rainfall to get that to start. Is the dry season ending yet?
Well, the dry season doesn't end until sometime between September 20th and October 10th in the key state of Mato Grosso. And so that's really the time of year where you can start thinking more about rain. It's still a little early now. There are some hints of rain coming up in 10 to 20 days, especially in the northwest part of the state. And that's typically where you would see some of these rains start up first. But the point here is that it is going to rain. It's just a matter of when. Will it start on September 20th or will it start on October 10th? Either way, it is going to rain, and their yields are not they're not affected by this really at all, because if it gets planted later, they'll just harvest it later. If it gets planted early, they just harvest it early. But the rains are always pretty regular once things get going. So we're not super concerned about exactly when it takes place. It just really, I think, depends more on, or it's more of a factor for when will those soybeans come online for exports or processing, whatever you want to do with them. Just a timing issue more than anything there.
Hey, thanks much. We'll talk with you again next week.
Yeah, that sounds great, Todd.
Mike Tannura is with T-Storm Weather at tstorm.net online. You've been listening to the Closing Market Report from Illinois Public Media on this Thursday. I'm Extension's Todd Gleason. Our programming content comes to you from willag.org, willag.org. The theme music is written, performed, produced, and courtesy of Logan County, Illinois farmer Tim Gleason.